Hello, how are you? Today I'm going to teach you how to work a beaded I-cord, but I'm realizing that it's very important for me to make sure that you know how to work a regular I-cord before we go ahead and add beads to it. So the first thing I've done is I've cast on 3 stitches onto my needle, and I used a long tail cast on for this. And now to work the I-cord, all I'm going to do is slide these stitches down to the other end of my needle. And I've got my working yarn right here. You want to make sure you don't start working with your tail, right? That's a pretty classic mistake that I know we all make sometimes. So I'm going to go in and I'm taking the working yarn and I'm wrapping it around and I'm knitting a stitch, and then I'm knitting a second stitch, and then I'm knitting a third stitch. And now I've got those 3 stitches and I've just knit a row. I'm going to go ahead and take them, slide them to the other end of my needle again, and then go and knit another row. And that is how simple I-cord is. I've heard it called I-cord, and this is a little silly because it's also known as idiot cord. And I don't really like the word idiot, so let's just call it easy cord. So now it's time to add some beads onto our I-cord. And the first thing you're going to do is go in and knit the first stitch. And then the second stitch we're going to knit with a bead. So I'm going to go in to knit the stitch. And for this pattern you'll already have had your beads threaded onto your yarn. So I'm going down onto my yarn and I'm sliding up a bead and wrapping it around my needle. And then I'm pulling that new stitch through so that I've got that bead right on my needle. Do you see that right there? It's right on the new stitch sitting on top of the needle. And now I'm going to knit one more stitch. So now I've got 3 stitches on my needle. I'm going to slide them again. And the next row I'm going to knit the first stitch with a bead. And this I'm getting from the pattern that I'm reading. So just go ahead and look at your pattern. So I'm going in to knit that stitch with a bead, pulling the bead through onto the stitch. And then the next stitch I'm going to go knit into, see how there's a bead on it? I want to make sure that that bead is all the way to the back of the left hand needle so that it's on the left leg of the stitch. And now I'm going to go in and knit it. Let me get these other beads out of the way. And you can see when I went in to knit it that that bead pops to the front there and it's right on the left leg of the stitch. Do you see that? And now I'm going to go knit the next stitch, and then I'm going to slide the stitches to the other end of the needle again. So now the first stitch I'm going to work has a bead on it from a previous row. I'm going to put that bead to the back of the needle, and that's of the left hand needle. So when I go to knit into it, that bead pops to the front. I'm going to knit the second stitch, and now the third stitch I'm going to knit with 1 bead. I just have to go out of the screen for a second so I can slide up a bead. Sorry about that. You're probably like, where did she go? There I am, wrapping the bead around, pulling it through. 3 stitches on my needle, and now you can see this little cord forming, right? And every row I'm having 1 bead on each stitch. These first few rows at the bottom are the ones where I was just showing you how to do I-cord. So let's continue like that for 1 more set of 3 rows. So I'm going to knit this stitch. The second stitch I'm going to knit with 1 bead. Wrap that around. The third stitch has the bead from the previous row, so I'm moving that to the back and knitting the stitch. Sliding to the other end, knitting the first stitch with a bead. Excuse me for a second while I go get one. And then just continue on, getting that bead to the back there. And the third row, sliding to the other end, get that bead to the back. And then knitting the second stitch. And now knitting this third stitch, and I need a bead, of course. I could have set up with a few, probably up on my yarn a little, so you didn't have to wait for me. Third bead on. There you go. And that is how you work a beaded I-cord. Pretty easy. So this is a beaded I-cord stitch, and you can use it for a variety of my patterns and to create things of your own. Enjoy!